Hi guys, Tom here from High Performance Programming. I'm one of the coaches at High Performance Programming, which I own with Lee Carter. We've collaborated this week, as we did last week, to bring you a video which we can use as a guide for workout 15.2 for the Open. 15.2 is 14.2, which is an interval-based workout upon which you have 3 minutes to do 2 rounds of 10 overhead squats at 43 kilograms. And 10 chest to bar pull-ups. You do 2 rounds of that. If you complete that within the 3 minutes, then you go on to the next round of 3 minutes, from 3 minutes to 6 minutes, and you're doing 12 reps of each exercise, 2 sets worth. And each 3 minutes it goes up in reps by 2. So we're going to cover some basic points which can help you through the workout. First off, we're going to go through the warm-up. We suggest starting with 5 to 10 minutes of light cyclical aerobic work, and that means you want to be on a rower, an air dyne, a spinning bike if you've got one in the gym. Probably avoid running, but some sort of light aerobic activity. So you're just getting breathing, getting the heart rate up, and beginning to get a little bit warmer. We're then going to move on to some mobility work, and in the mobility work we want to focus on the key areas that are going to be used today, which is most of the body, but we really want to think about, for the overhead squat, any mobility should focus on ankles and hips, depending on your own personal problems, possibly T-spine as well. And for the pull-ups, we want to think about the shoulders and the T-spine. One thing we would say about mobility, though, is if your mobility is very poor, in terms of in your shoulder range in particular, or in your overhead squat, is something you really need to work on, because you're physically not going to be able to get into the positions. If, however, you have a good overhead squat and sort of decent range of motion day to day, you don't really want to be hammering the mobility and going in with your shoulders really loose. We want some tightness there. So that's just something to be aware of, knowing yourself as an athlete. Once we've done a bit of mobility work, sort of loosened up our movement, we're going to move on to some potentiation work, some activation of the glutes and the scap and the upper back. So we're talking about external rotations, banded rotations. We can do some ring rows, maybe some strict pull-ups, not too many of those. And then for the lower body, looking at doing some glute activation stuff with the banded walks, doing some lunges, some variations of lunges. Again, for yourself, think about personal priorities. If you've had shoulder injuries in the past, you really want to think about making sure your scap's active, and any sort of personal prehab you might have would fit into this slot. After the activation mobility work, we're going to go into potentiation, and we're going to think about getting the heart rate up and beginning to get our body ready for the effects of 15.2. So what we suggest here is 4 to 5 sets of, again, cyclical work, but are higher intensity. So we're looking at 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds at a pretty tough effort, getting you breathing as heavily as you will be in the workout, and then 30 seconds nice easy spinning. And that just gets ready for the workout, so that you're not warming up within the workout. Once we've done that, we can just go into some specific work for the workout. So we want to do a few sets of chest to bar pull-ups, but we don't want to over warm them up. If you think about them as you would strict pull-ups, if I asked you to do a set of max effort strict pull-ups, you wouldn't do a huge amount in your warm-up, because it'd tire your sort of arms and shoulders out. They're quite small muscles that will fatigue quickly. So for the pull-ups, we don't want to do too many of them. Just make sure you've got your rhythm and your flow if you're doing butterfly kipping, and that you're happy with that. In terms of that, we would suggest maybe 2 to 3 sets of 3 to 4 overhead squats, and maybe 2 to 3 pull-ups. And we'll do that a couple of times through. You don't want to be thrashing yourself there, just moving through, making sure you're happy with the movements. And before you do that, do plenty of empty bar overhead squats. Get comfortable in that overhead squat, especially again if you're someone that suffers on the mobility side. So that's pretty much the warm-up covered. If you have your own personal warm-up, stick with that. If that's something you use every day and you know what works for you, stick with that. Don't start changing things now. Don't start bringing in some drastic new warm-up that you've never used before, because you don't know how that's going to affect your workout. And certainly if you're only going to get one opportunity to do this workout, you don't want to be trying out new stuff. So we'll go on to the setup very quickly. It's quite basic, really, in terms of how we physically set ourselves up for the workout. Obviously, you need to make sure you read the rule book and abide by all the standards that CrossFit set out. So having a clock in view, a judge in view, making sure that the video standards are all met. That's pretty basic stuff. You can look that up on the website. In terms of efficiency, we want that barbell to be within 2 to 3 steps of the pull-up bar. You don't want to be walking sort of like 10 meters across the gym to get to your barbell, especially in those sort of last few rounds where you're really pushing. You want to jump off the pull-up bar, turn around, and the barbell's there, ready to go. Chalk should be sort of close to where you're going to be working. So if you have your sort of barbell there and then you pull up bar there, you want to have chalk just on a box or on a rack at sort of waist height or shoulder height, so you don't have to bend down for it, just so you can put a quick bit on as you walk over to the pull-up bar. You don't, again, want to be walking around looking for the chalk bucket midway through the workout when you're sort of wasting precious seconds. And in terms of chalk, we should make sure, obviously, we chalk our hands, the bar, if we need to, before the workout starts. For the pull-up part of the workout, if you're a shorter guy or lady and you're in a gym where the rig's pretty tall and you normally have to jump up for the pull-ups, just put some plates or a box on the floor. You don't want to be wasting energy jumping up for the pull-up bar and then having to get your hands into a good position if you've not quite caught the bar right. That is precious seconds and precious energy you don't want to waste. So set up some plates or a box, whatever suits you. Or if you can find a pull-up bar that you can do chest to bar on at sort of just fingertip length, then use that. That's the best way to go. And in terms of the grip, I would consider taping the pull-up bar. It'll add to the grip, but again, that's a personal thing for yourself and whether your gym will let you do that. Obviously, we want to tape our hands and use hand protection that we're used to. Especially if we want to do this workout twice, and if we're looking at doing 15.3 next week, you don't know what's coming up. You don't want massive tears, which mean you're out of training all week and that you're struggling next weekend when it's, say, muscle-ups or high-rep Olympic barbell work. So make sure you tape your hands up. Use hand protection that you're used to. Don't use those brand new gymnastics grips today. Now is not the time to introduce that. You want to use something that you're used to. In terms of our approach to the workout, we divided this into 3 sections. So we're going to talk about our overhead squats first, the chest to bar pull-ups, and then pacing. So in terms of the overhead squats, our first point would be wear Olympic lifting shoes. I think unless you're massively weak on the pull-ups and your mobility and the overhead squat for you is really, really easy, I think wearing Olympic lifting shoes would be a silly thing not to do. It's going to make you much more comfortable in that bottom position, and it's going to add sort of a few grams to your weight for the pull-ups. But as I say, again, that's for personal choice. You want to squat snatch preferably into the first rep of every set for the overhead squats, just for time efficiency. Only do this, however, if you're comfortable that you can do that and end up in a nice squat position and you won't have to faff around changing your foot placement. If the squat snatch for you is a little bit of an iffy movement and you're going to struggle to get into good position through the squat snatch, don't do it. Just power snatch it and write it down. There's no point in sort of wasting time trying to look flash doing the squat snatch and actually it wastes 10-20 seconds because you've had to reset and stand up out of it and you get a no rep or whatever. So do that if you're really comfortable in the squat snatch. In terms of our grip width, we want to think about narrow versus wide. A lot of people when they overhead squat will have their hands out really wide. That's fine. For this workout, that's going to fatigue the shoulders a lot more. So if you've got the mobility and are comfortable doing so, I would suggest bringing your grip in a little bit, even if just by a few centimetres. Preferably, we want to get in as close as possible. So that's something for yourself to think about. And again, knowing yourself as an athlete, do you have the mobility? Do you have the range to do that? And when we do think about grip, we also want to think about varying the grip. If I'm in that same position throughout the whole workout, and then I go to the pull-up bar and I'm in a very similar position, the shoulders are probably excuse me, going to get fatigued. So if you do find that, then you can think about just switching up your grip slightly and maybe changing it around. maybe moving it out for one set and then back in. But again, that's a personal thing to play with. On the overhead squats, breathe. Use that. For most people, that should be a bit of a rest, okay? Certainly in the first few sets. Use that to catch your breath. We want to think about having a nice, long, controlled breath through the movement. So we're breathing in over 2 seconds through the belly on the way in. Through the nose on the way in. And then a nice, strong exhale at the top of the movement. And if we can get into that rhythm and keep it, it just regulates our heartbeat. If we're sort of doing the Valsalva mover or holding our breath the whole way through the movement, or we're inconsistent, and we're going like 4 seconds holding our breath and then a quick breath, and then we're going 2 seconds holding our breath and then 2 quick breaths, it's really inconsistent. Our heart rate's going to be all over the place, it's going to raise our cardiac output, and it's essentially like doing extra work, okay? You want to keep us calm and relaxed in those overhead squats. They should be nice and smooth. Get yourself into a zone. Just work through them, trying to get them unbroken. Okay. We want to focus on slow, controlled inhale through the nose on the eccentric and exhale sharply at the top. We just want to get as much oxygen into your system as possible. So that's pretty much it for the overhead squats. Moving on to the chest to bars, second movement of the workout. For most people, these are going to be the limiter in the workout. Certainly for the higher end athletes, the overhead squats really are going to be almost all unbroken, and it'll be the chest to bars that need breaking up early, because those arm flexors are going to tire out long before your lower body tires out. So big thing for this is break them up early. Know yourself as an athlete. Again, we keep saying that. You've got to know yourself as an athlete, what your limitations are. If you're someone who's got 50 unbroken chest to bars, you can go in bigger sets to start off with. If you're someone who struggles to get 20 unbroken chest to bars out, you need to be thinking about sets of 2 to 3, maybe even singles. Certainly for the first few sets. And I would say there's very few people who really want to start with more than 5 to 6 reps unbroken. And when we say we're breaking them up, we're talking about do 5 reps, drop off, 3, 2, 1, back on. And that's why you need a low pull-up bar, so you can just do that nice and easily. And we're going to focus on just keeping them nice and smooth, get yourself into a rhythm, think about the timings beforehand and have a plan going into it. The worst thing you can do is go into the workout and say, yeah, I'm going to divide all the pull-ups into 3s, and you get to the second or third round and you're struggling to do that, and so you keep missing reps trying to get that 3rd rep. Just forget it. Accept where you are, accept your position, and go down to 2s or singles or whatever it is you need to do. If you start with a butterfly and then that starts to fade out and you're struggling with it, just drop to kipping straight away. Don't waste energy trying to get reps in butterfly and waste that energy. You just go to kipping straight away. Maybe you can start the next set of butterfly, but as soon as that butterfly starts losing its rhythm and you can't get it back, go to kipping. Don't see that as a brick wall. So accept where you are and get on with it. Once your kipping starts going, you can consider a mixed grip if that's something you're comfortable with. We want to think about in the pull-ups, don't overuse the arms early. That's the thing that a lot of athletes do, is they think about just using the arms and the shoulders. We want to use the hips as much as possible, certainly early on when our hips aren't too fatigued from the overhead squats. As the workout gets deeper and deeper, our hips are going to be more and more tired and they're going to have less snap in them from the high repetition squatting. And your arms will probably start to come more into play. But certainly to begin with, we want to think about more hips. And throughout the pull-ups, we really want to focus about keeping those positions as solid as possible. Nice hollow arch positions in the kip. Don't let your legs fly out. Keep it looking neat and tidy, and generally it'll be much more efficient. Obviously, as you get tired, that's going to be more and more difficult to do. Don't miss reps with those chest to bars. If you do a rep, you get your chest to the bar and you're thinking that was close, I struggled with that, just drop off, just pause. Then you can go back up and reset, okay? If you miss the bar by that much, you get a no rep, but you've pretty much done a full pull-up anyway. So you've wasted a huge amount of energy. That's 1 rep extra at the end of the workout. That's 100 places at the moment. It's that competitive, especially if you're at the high end of the leaderboard. And in regards to that, the only time that advice will change is obviously if you've got 10 seconds to get 2 pull-ups, you've just got to go for it. or sorry, probably more than that. Those last sets, obviously, you just need to go balls to the wall. Again, hand care with the chest to bar pull-ups. We need to tape up and use hand protection that we're used to, because they're where we're going to tear. In terms of pacing, we would suggest that for the higher end athletes, certainly, and for most athletes, really, unless there's a strength mobility issue going on, overhead squats should be unbroken from the start, unless they are very, very challenging. Okay, again, due to strength or mobility issues, we want to try and maintain that throughout. The overhead squat should be your rest, so to speak. The chest to bar pull-ups are what should be causing people issues. Once you finish your set of overhead squats, go straight in to your pull-ups. Okay, so if you finish your overhead squats, don't use that as rest. Just walk to the pull-up bar, jump up, get a couple of reps out. Okay, and then you've got a couple of reps on the board, and you can drop off, reset, take a couple of breaths, and go back up. If you add in a rest between that overhead squat bar and the pull-up bar, it's just wasted and empty time when you could be doing pull-ups. As I said earlier, you want to set yourself an ideal reps. I've already covered this. You want to set yourself an ideal rep scheme. You want to hit for the chest to bars, but don't get bogged down in it. Be flexible. That's what being a smart athlete is about. You've got to be flexible in your rep schemes. Really good idea having a coach or peer talking to you throughout the session. So the best thing I would suggest is having someone separate to judge / count your reps, and then someone else who you know well, who you respect, and who you can handle being firm with you in a workout, and who you are happy with pushing you in a workout. They're talking to you all the time, all right? So if you go in with a rep scheme of, say, 4s in the pull-ups, and you're just dropping off that, and you said you were going to rest 3 to 4 seconds between sets, and you're letting that slip by like 2 or 3 seconds, it's very easy to do on your own without realising you're doing it. With someone there watching the clock, they can be on you, saying, get back on the bar, come on, you need to step up. And that little voice inside your head saying, stop, it gets muted out by your friend, okay? It's even better if it's someone that you're competitive with or someone that you respect, to sort of push you that little bit harder. Also with that, I would say, talk to them beforehand. Tell them what you want. If you're someone who needs a bit of tough love in a workout and you need them in your face, giving you a bit of shit, that's absolutely fine. Tell them that. If you're someone who needs a bit of TLC and a bit of, come on mate, you're doing really well, then you need to tell them that, and they can sort of play to that. Make sure you discuss that before, and it is quite important. Okay, if you're someone who reacts badly to sort of a bit harsher motivation, then it can send your workout downhill if you're sort of really dealing with the criticism badly. In the beginning of the workout, you want to focus on just staying smooth and relaxed. Don't focus on getting quick rounds so that you get a minute and a half rest, because all that's going to do is spike your heart rate, and you've got to fight to bring it down. If you can get through those rounds, just breathing nice and gently, your heart rate slowly, gradually increases throughout the sets, then that is better than up and down, because slowly it will get so high that you can't get it down. Okay, you want to treat this as an aerobic workout. You want to be breathing at the same rate throughout, slowly building up as you go, rather than spike and then down. So for the first interval, we suggest getting the work done in around 2 minutes 30. So you've got 30 seconds of rest to sort of chalk up and get back to the bar, but you're working pretty consistently through those 3 minutes. That would be our suggestion. If you're doing 2 attempts, I would be aware that this could be quite fatiguing, this workout. There's a lot of eccentric loading in the pull-ups, especially as you get tired and you're slamming down into the shoulders. So be aware that your second attempt, you might not improve by a huge amount. Okay, it obviously depends how much volume you're used to. If you're someone who does a lot of gymnastics and can handle the volume, it probably won't be as bad. But if you're someone who you get sore from a lot of pull-ups, then this workout probably isn't for you to do twice, or at least to do twice and improve on. If you're going to do a genuine run-through, you need to make it genuinely a run-through. So every 3 minutes you do 1 round, and you give yourself a cap. You stop at 14 rounds if that's easy for you. You don't want to be going balls out on Friday and then trying to improve that on Sunday or Monday if you're really sore, because you will struggle, and that fatigue will kick in earlier than it did in the first effort. So that's something to think about. Keep moving in your rest periods. Don't just sit down. You want to keep the blood flowing. Keep getting that crap out of your system. So keep moving. Have a drink there. Something that you're used to sort of sipping on during workouts, if you want that. I would say you don't really need to have a drink. To be honest, it's going to be a 15 to 20 minute workout maximum. This is a short person's workout. Okay, so be aware of that. If you're a taller guy, if you're 6'3" and weigh 95 kilos, a guy who's 5'10", 5'9", who weighs 80 kilos, they're probably, if you have similar fitness levels, they're probably going to do better just through pure physics in terms of how far they've got to move the bar and stuff. So just be aware of that. This isn't going to be your best workout necessarily. Okay, you wait until the wall balls and box jumps come up and see how the shorties are doing then. Our last piece of advice would be just relax. Don't go storming out the gates. Stay controlled and composed. That's the most important thing. Have a game plan and try to stick to it, but be flexible. Be aware that things change in the workouts. It's a challenging workout, and it can creep up on you. Suddenly, those overhead squats, what seemed like they were easy sort of a minute ago, are suddenly crushing you, and you're struggling to get that bar up or the pull-ups. You suddenly don't have that hip extension to or that pull in the arms to get to the bar. If you're doing it with other athletes, try to not get sucked into a competition with them. Just try to stick to your own game plan. Okay, if they go storming out the gates, let them. Okay, slowly, catch your monkey. I think that's it from us. If you want to look at a hard copy of these notes, that will be on our website. Open 15.2. It'll be the guide to HPP High Performance Programming Guide to Open Workout 15.2. Good luck to you all. And if you want any more information about high performance programming, just give us an email at info@highperformanceprogramming.co.uk. Good luck.